Assalam Alaikam, Rahmatallah, everyone. How are you doing? Just wanted to give you a quick recap from last week's discussion. 90% of the time, our brains are operating in autopilot mode, and a little time we're actually aware this world overstimulates us and our brain systematically starts to shut down. We ended our discussion by encouraging you all to think about how your brain is coping with the plethora of stimulation around you and to not walk around asleep, rather to wake up before it's too late, inshallah. So let's build on this concept. It's pretty evident now that our human brain is quite vulnerable. And anytime someone or something is vulnerable, it means that that individual is now capable of or susceptible to being wounded or hurt. So do you think we're the only ones who've discovered the vulnerability of the human brain? I hope you're not that naive, because clearly that's not the case. There are forces seen and unseen in this world that exploit and attack this very vulnerability of ours. Today, I just want to briefly speak to you about how easily our brains can get programmed and how fundamental concepts and values have gone askew. So the manner in which our brains develop is dependent on both overt and covert learning. So the real question now is, who is our teacher and what are we learning? So in order for us to explore that, I'm going to give you a crash course on human conditioning. In the early 20th century, Ivan Pavlov discovered that he could eventually condition dogs to salivate to the sound of a bell, even when there was no food presented afterwards. Now this was phenomenal, and it very quickly was applied to the human population. How, you may ask? Let's go back to elementary school. What did you do when the school bell rang? It's sort of silly of me to even ask, because we all know what we did. We lined up. But the point is, we weren't born with this knowledge. We were conditioned or programmed to do so. And if we were not obedient, meaning we didn't line up, there would be immediate negative repercussions. So this directly begs the question, who and what are we obedient to? Alright, so let's wrap this up now. In this world, we're conditioned to respond to a bell. And I'm pretty sure if we were put back in that scenario now, and the school bell rings, without awareness, we will begin to line up. So if we can do this for the rules of man, what do we do when we hear Allah's bell, which is of course the adhan? Many of us, including myself, will say, I still got time, or who's going to go make wudu, or astaghfirullah, we may even just ignore it. Disobeying Allah's bell, or in other words the adhan, will not yield immediate negative repercussions, but come on guys, we all know we're here for a very, very temporary time, and we will be standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala any second. And at that moment, what excuse will you give for your disobedience? So back to the first question I posed earlier. In this world, who is your teacher? Think about this. Is it man or is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I know no one wants to think of themselves as a slave, but the reality is we all are a slave to something. Whether it be your desires, whether it be money, fashion, status, whatever, this society has literally taught us to obey your thirst. Meaning, the bottom line of that is follow your nafs, your desires. But as Muslims, we have to understand that no, we do not and will not obey our thirst. We will only, inshallah, obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is our master and we are only His slaves. So with this thought process in mind, the Mathaba team encourages all of you to think about how you have been programmed to live a life in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this environment is supporting every action of disobedience. Honestly, guys, we can't even go to the grocery store with the ease because there's filth everywhere. But like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this world is a prison for the believers and Jannah for the disbeliever. So accept the challenges of living in this prison, because you kind of have no choice. But that's okay. You're here, so let's make the best of it. And inshallah, we will all meet again in Jannah. Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. Assalamu Alaikum Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuhu.